Okay, it is eyelash rooting day for this little baby. This is Joe by Linda Murray. And I'm going to show you how to do closed eyes, which is a lot easier than rooting open eyes. So let's get the magnifying. Actually, let me talk to you for a second about the hair. And the reason I like to use the alpaca hair, or if you were using mohair, I would use a very thin mohair, is because I want to be able to get a very sharp taper on the lashes. And the way I do that is by rooting a bunch of hair and then cutting it at different lengths and then combining those hairs so that they get thinner. So they appear to get thinner at the ends. And that's something you can't do if you're using like a thick mohair. It'll look very blunt at the end of your lashes and it won't look like a nice natural taper. I've got some alpaca hair. This is Surrey alpaca from Stella's Fiber Farm on Etsy. It's a really nice quality. If you're getting alpaca, you need to make sure it's a nice quality so that there's not breakage. You don't want cheap quality alpaca. So ask around in rooting groups to find some good ones. I can recommend some, but then they often might not be available later. So anyway, Stella's Fiber Farm is where I got this one. And let's see, what do I need? I need some scissors, and I need tweezers, and my rooting needle, and I've got this is a Clover rooting tool. I can put a link in the description. Now, I was mono rooting a Huxley head, so I had a 1 barb needle to make sure that I was not getting extra hairs. So we're going to change it, and the needle doesn't matter as much for closed eyes. For open eyes I use a really aggressive needle, but for closed eyes it's just a lot easier to grab the hair, so it really doesn't matter as much what kind of needle you choose. Let me see what I got. I'm just going to use a typical 42 gauge crown needle. I'm not trying to grab a lot of hair. She's not going to have super thick lashes. A little bit thick, but not too much. So put this in put the needle in the tool. Here, we could show you how this works. There's little holes in this part of the tool, and so you slide the needle in, and then the top of the needle just goes in like that. Maybe it's better without the magnifying glass. And then where did the top? There it is. Okay, here's the top. And then before you root, when you have a new needle, you always need to clean it off. So I will just turn it over like this and do a few pokes to clean it off. Make sure all of that black stuff comes off. And I'm going to heat the head. I think you could probably do it without, but I like having it nice and soft for rooting. Now you got to be really careful with this. It's so that you don't melt your doll. You don't do this if you're going to be distracted with other things to where you might accidentally leave it alone, or yeah, just make sure that if you're using a lamp that you're going to be there and making sure it doesn't get too hot. All right, and that will take a few minutes to heat up. I'm going to cut a little bit of hair off of here. So the rubber band is at the top, and that will tell you which direction the hair goes. Hair has a direction. It has a cuticle that lays flat in one direction and not flat the other direction. So you want to make sure all your hair is going the same direction, which is one reason why you don't want to do the root-a-loop method, because then you have hair going one way and hair going the other way, and it can get frizzy. And also, your lashes don't lay as nicely. Okay. Also, while this is heating up, let's just talk quickly about needle direction, something I went into more in my open-eyed video. It's really important the direction of your needle. It will be pointed outward as you're out here, more inward when you come over here, more straight when you come over here. If you're doing like this, that eyelash is going to poke out wrong. It's going to look really bad. So it's just important that each time you put your needle in, you make sure, double check that, okay, so side to side, how am I doing? And up and down, how am I doing? I like to root with it slightly down so that it curls down and then up like a natural lash. Starting to get a little warmer. Okay, so I'm going to cut a little piece off of this hair, and if I lay it down to take a break, I always lay it down the same way so that when I pick it up, I'm rooting it the same way. So I always lay it down with the cut end on the left. So I'm actually going to cut some from the bottom here because I like this. It's a little reddish down here, and she has kind of reddish hair, so I'm gonna cut this like that. Okay, so every time I take a break and put this down, I'm putting the cut end to the left, and then when I'm picking it up, I'm picking up, and I remember where that end is. Okay. All right. All right, so my ends are already kind of more ragged than I would like. I'm going to cut them off. All right, I'm actually going to turn it off for a second because I need to be able to see where to start the hair. I like to imagine where the eyeball is, kind of where it's bulging out, and where that would end. So this part at the very end, I'm not going to put lashes in there. That's I'm looking at this to see where I think the eyeball ends versus where there's a crease. And if I think about the eyeball shape, it's probably not going to go way over here. It's probably going to end like here. And then the rest of this is crease. So I will start my hair right here. In fact, I'll put the first one in without the without the light on. Okay, goes down to here. So I'll put my first hair in there. Okay, and my needle is poking its outward. This is the direction I want the hair. Interesting. So this needle only put in 2 hairs. I think I'm going to want more than that. So I'm going to switch out to the 6 barb needle because I really want more. Let's try 42 gauge 6 barb needle. All right, let's try this again with a 6 barb 42 gauge needle. Oh, my eyes are so bad. Oh wow, that was more than I wanted in. I think I'm going to take a few of those out, like half of them. Okay, so that's going to be 1 lash there. And now, second lash. Okay, now that's not quite as thick as my first one, so I'm going to add a couple more hairs. So you see, I'm just using these hairs on the end. These hairs that are sticking out. Ooh. Okay. If I were to just root from this giant center, I think I would grab way too much hair. Let's test it and see. Oh, no, that was actually just what I wanted. Okay, let me turn up the light. Okay, I'm gonna cut off the ends. All right, so these are clumps that are going to become individual lashes. Okay, so to make it easy, you can put the hair in the crease, and now your needle is coming down on top of that hair, so it's actually sitting on the hair, and that will grab quite a bit of hair. That's slightly thicker than the other 3, so I'm going to take a little bit out. That looks good. Okay, so hair in the channel, needle on top, paying attention to what direction, side to side, up and down. There's another one. I'm looking, and this one's a little bit thinner than the others, so I'm just going to add a little more hair there to even out. And this one too. I want them to all be a little bit thicker. I even want this last one to be a little thicker. Ew. That messed up my ends pretty bad. I'm gonna cut them. Okay. Moving along, checking my spacing. I don't like this hair at the end. What happens if you don't cut these hairs, if you have like these long hairs at the end when you're rooting, is those hairs will go, they will bend and come out the other way, and it'll look like rooting a loop. Oh, that hardly picked up anything. Let's try that again. Okay, sometimes it helps to just turn your needle just randomly. Just happens to be in the wrong place, and you can turn it to help. Sometimes you just have to go over a few times to get it thicker. Okay. And as I'm getting towards the center, rather than going this way like the ends, I'm coming more straight out. Gradually. To stretch. Okay, yeah, this is getting ragged on the ends. I'm gonna cut it off. Now, if I knew that I was going to be this close up on camera with my hands, I would have taken a lot better care of them, I think, growing up. Maybe not cut myself on a glass doorknob or get my hand caught in a Pringles can. I got a bad scar from that. But you might wonder, how do you get a scar from a Pringles can? The way you do it is, it's nighttime, it's bedtime, and you're like, oh, one more chip before I go to bed. And your parents are like, oh, no, you don't. No more chips. And they grab your hand, and you're trying to pull that last Pringles out, and your hand gets caught on the inside of a Pringles can, which is super sharp, or at least it was when I was a kid. And yeah, I got a scar. And that was the end of my hand modeling days. ruined a possible career for me because I needed that last chip. Okay, this is the hardest part for me, is when it gets around to the front near the nose. It starts to get really awkward. But that's okay. We will get through it. I have been working on an eyebrow tutorial for quite a while. Because I've been thinking a lot about like what would be the best way to explain it. That is what has taken me so long, but I think I might have some good ideas of ways to explain eyebrows that might make good sense. So if you want to subscribe to this channel, then turn on notifications, then you will see when I get that eyebrow tutorial up. And what I did is, one of the things I did is searched to find high resolution examples of eyebrows. It's kind of hard to find them just through regular search. You get some crazy results if you Google baby eyebrows. But yeah, I found high resolution baby pictures and then zoomed in on the eyebrows, and I'm making them into like a little printable packet that people can print out and trace over to learn different kinds of eyebrows. I think that's going to be very helpful. Fair warning, and if you subscribe to my channel, yes, you'll get tutorials and also some crazy baby role play where they are stealing cookies, they're putting dinosaurs in wedding dresses, and those are the videos I really enjoy making a lot. They take quite a while, and they're not as popular as tutorials, but it's what I love doing. So you'll see those. Okay, getting to that hard part near the nose, but that's okay because, you know, I mean, you could even stop here. I'm gonna root a little further, but I'm not gonna root as thick as it gets real close to the inside. Oh, that didn't work. I gotta make sure my needle is on top of the hairs. Yeah. So just a few thin ones as we get close to the nose. A little more right here. This seems like it's gone from thick to nothing, and it needs a little something here to make it more gradual. All right. Yeah, that's better. That's more of a gradual thick to thin. Okay, that is one side done. Oh, I hate starting by the nose. Hate it. Ah, that That went in the wrong direction. And if I just let it go, I will be sorry later. Okay, that's better. Now, if you like the way the babies look that I paint, I have to highly, highly recommend Sue Ellen Taormina's Patreon tutorials, because they're just the best. They are, at this, right now, when I'm making this, it's only $10 a month, which is like nothing for getting amazing lessons from a master artist. And that's where I learned how to do the little eyelid capillaries, how I learned to do the primary method, skin texture, so that the skin has, you know, so it's not all, so it has just very subtle color variations, which is really hard to see on camera, but you can see it in person. It looks really nice. So yeah, that's where I learned how to paint, and it just really took my dolls up to the next level. It took a while to learn the primary method, and I did have a while where I was stripping dolls pretty often because of just trying to get it right. What am I trying to say? Okay, so what's happening, this is thicker here than here, so I do want to take out a few of these hairs and make them a little thinner. I'm a big believer in learning everything you can from lots of different artists. I subscribe to Melissa George's Patreon. But really, Sue Ellen's is the one I follow the closest, and that I just really like her style of painting. And you know, you learn everything you can from different artists and then kind of add your own style. You know, another tutorial I would really love to do is fingernails, because, you know, eyebrows and fingernails and rooting eyelashes, those are like some of the hardest things, and I'd love to be able to make them easier. But when I tried doing it, I just had the hardest time trying to paint while at the same time recording it. I couldn't do it. It's really hard to do with eyebrows too. But I'd still like to figure an easy way to do fingernails that can be explained well. Let's see here. So this is a little thick. I'm going to take a little bit of that out. I love doing these Linda Murray sculpts. They're just really pretty. Okay, I'm going to cut this end. So that it sits better in this little eyelid channel. So I can grab more. That wasn't enough. Grab more. That's looking better. And oh, another stretch. So I have to say, when it comes to sharing knowledge like this, I think about my cinematography. Well, I'm part of a filmmaking group, and they always say, a rising tide lifts all ships. Meaning, you don't need to kind of hide your methods. I mean, if it's something that another artist has done, like if Sue Ellen has done something about it, then I'm not going to do a tutorial, because I think you should follow her Patreon and learn. And yeah, a rising tide lifts all ships, meaning we all get better, and that's for the greater good. So I am happy to share whatever I've learned that I've kind of figured out, not if it's really someone else's knowledge, but if it's something I figured out, I'll share it. And I enjoy explaining things and trying to make them easier to understand. I used to teach a cinematography workshop and really liked that, to explain how to do lighting. Because I'm a filmmaker, I have a degree in filmmaking, and I'd like to be able to teach the Reborn community lighting and photography. It bothers me when people have trouble with things like not understanding white balance. That makes such a difference. You want your babies to look the actual color that they are when you list them. So white balance is so important, and you know, auto white balance will ruin your pictures because it's trying to compensate and make everything neutral, and you need to custom white balance. Anyway, I would like to do more tutorials about that, about photography, posing, some of the things that I've kind of learned. Okay, now that I've got the lashes done, I'm going to cut them a little bit, just because the alpaca tangles pretty easily. Just make it a little bit easier for the next step. Okay, so I'm gonna dip this eyebrow groomer tool into distilled water. And comb the lashes up. Alright, I've combed it up and I'm looking for little hairs that are short, that are poking the wrong way. And pulling those out. There's just a couple. And these come from when I rooted and the end was too long. Every once in a while there'll be one where the end is too long, and so it ends up with this little tail. That needs to come out. Otherwise, it'll just, you know, they won't go the right direction. They're too short to comb into place. Okay, so I'll look from the side. Sometimes I'll let it dry so that if any are gonna pop out, they'll do so. But this looks pretty good. Okay, so it's time to glue the lashes, which is really easy on closed eye babies. I love this Ultimate Rooting Glue from Rebornfx, from macphersoncraft, because it doesn't crack. It's really flexible. You can root through it if you need to, but basically you want kind of a slippery glue. You don't want some, so you could use like Mod Podge, something like that. You just don't want a sticky glue. Like you wouldn't want to use the E6000 because the stickiness is going to pull at the hairs. And by the way, if you like how the hair is drawn, I have another tutorial on how to do Prisma hair, how to draw Prisma hair. And I'll put a link to that at the very end. So if you look inside, you can see where the rooting is happening. So I just put a little glue on my finger and just put it on top. And I also like that this glue dries pretty quick. All right, so now we're going to put a little bit of curl in the lashes. So I'm going to take a toothpick, comb these back down, place my toothpick in, and then I'm going to comb the lashes up over the toothpick. So what this is doing is making it so the lashes curl down and then up. And then I will push, you know, steady the hair this way and then pull it out. Okay, so as I'm looking at it from the side, I might pull it out a little bit more. So look from the side to see how much curl you want in your lashes. And look to make sure, it's okay, that they're going kind of down and then up. I think this wasn't wet enough, is why it keeps undoing itself. All right. Okay, so you can see how that is curling. You know, picture where you're going to cut your lashes to, how long you're going to make them. Okay, so you can see what happened here is this lash crossed over that one. Don't want to do that, so I'm gonna separate them. And I also don't want them drying side to side. Okay. Mm-hmm. No, don't ruin it for me, little hair. Don't, come on, you silly hair. The rest of it looks so good. I don't want to ruin it with this hair that won't go the right way. Okay, stay. Kind of got to do this on a day when you've got a lot of patience. It takes a lot of patience. And I can feel myself getting a little impatient. I think I'm getting hungry. That's always not a good time to be reborning for me. So if I'm too hungry. I'm almost done. I'm so close. Okay, so unfortunately, the last thing I recorded didn't actually record. But what I did was I cut the lashes to the longest that I want them. And then I cut them to different lengths. And the way I did that, I used to just hold it and do the scissors like this, but too many times I slipped and cut the lashes too short. So now I set it down. I put my thumb under the scissors to kind of steady it, and then go through, and you just keep snipping at the ends. Kind of come in a bit and out a bit so that you get different lengths. So I've already done that one. And then I've already put the clear mascara on this one so you can tell how it's more coming to a point on those. So, and then I like to blow away any stray lashes with this. It's a Giotto, Giotto. I think it's called a tornado. It's really great for blowing away little lash bits. And then I just use some clear mascara. So and the more you put on, the wetter it'll look. Also, you can get it to look less wet by doing what I'm going to do in a second here, which is divide the lashes. You know, do you want it to look like they just got out of the bath, kind of wet lashes, or just regular lashes, which is what I'm going for. Okay, so I take the little wedge to clean off any mistakes. And then I will take a rooting needle and use it to divide the lashes into, get to where you can see it. So dividing these so that they're still tapered and nice. But more separated. And then I will go and kind of encourage a bit of a curl here. Just to kind of encourage the ends to curl as it's drying. Yeah, this is kind of too much of a clump for me, so I'm gonna divide it like that. Yeah, this one too, kind of clumpy. Okay. I'm just trying to connect. Some of these I'm trying to divide, others I'm trying to keep connected so that it looks even across. And also so it looks similar to the other side. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so as I'm looking at these lashes, I think that they're a little too long to where I'd like them to be a little shorter to be more realistic. So I'm going to take these same tiny scissors, these little sharp ones are, by the way, the kind that are good to use for all that little snipping motion. And you can do this two ways. If it's just like here, I've got a long pointy tip. So if some of these seem a little large, I'll cut them off and I'll cut them like at an angle. If it's just this very end, I can do it that way. Or if I think it'll be better to be shorter, closer down, and I think it'll mess up the point to be cutting that far down, then I'll just brush it out. And this is a clean mascara wand. You can just buy them brand new. And that will kind of get them back to their original, more of a fuzzy state that they started in. So one thing I've been noticing is I've been brushing the first coat of mascara out of this one, out of this side, is how well it's actually kept its shape. It springs back pretty well. And then you can go back to doing the tiny snips. Okay, so I really like how these turned out. I like them a little shorter. I think they're a little more natural, although there are some babies with some really long lashes. So once you've done a lot of closed eyelashes, then you can kind of move on to open eyelashes, which are more challenging. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more tutorials. I'd like to do one on eyebrows, and yeah, I think you have to turn on notifications for a channel so that it tells you when they post something new.
Hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Ow, ow, ow. Show them, girl, yeah. Boom, boom, bow, bow, boom, 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 bow, 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 boom, boom, bow, 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 boom, boom. Ow, grrr, bow, 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 boom, boom, ah, yes.